Everyone be quiet. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello. I'm Ciaran.
I'm Marek.
Yeah, we didn't even rehearse that. And we're going to talk today about flying in style without splashing out. We're going to call it cheap flights, but we're not just going to talk about like rock bottom pricing. We're going to talk about some other stuff as well. So try to come up with an exciting title.
Whenever you have any questions, feel free to ask or raise a hand or just shout out your question. So if you don't understand anything or like confused, just
yeah, we're very happy to take questions as we go through. So when you fly somewhere, there's a few different considerations. It's not just always about price. For some people, it's just about price. This is the best slide in the whole presentation because Sim did it. There's different things you might want to take into account. Cost is the major thing for most of us. A lot of the time, travel is constrained by how much you want to spend, right?
especially if you travel with family, saving like £100 per person is like £400 for the whole group.
There's other considerations. There's comfort and convenience. So comfort, how much pain are you in during that flight? And this is where EasyJet make a lot of the industry in the last 10, 15 years has been driven by saying people care loads about cost, they don't care about comfort and convenience. Convenience, you can put the airport an hour away from the place they actually want to go to. You can strip back the aircraft as much as possible. So we're going to talk about reducing costs. We're going to talk about how you can reduce costs by compromising on convenience. And then the bit we're more interested in, how do you maximise your comfort during this flight and get a really nice trip. So how do airlines price things? It's worth looking at what makes up the cost of a ticket because it's quite complicated. I'm going to look at cost first. Can anyone read that? Is that too small? I'll go through it. So you can find out, this is a ticket on BA from Heathrow to JFK in New York. And you can find out what makes up the price. The total cost is £419. This bit at the top is called the fare. So airlines do always price things in both directions. So they'll give you a return price, but it's made up of a price for the outbound and a price for the return. In this case, BA have decided they're going to charge us 50 quid to go from London to New York, and 50 quid to go from New York back to London again. So that's only £100. That's less than a quarter of the cost of the ticket. A whole other bunch of costs are taxes imposed by the departure government, the UK, and departures both ways. Yeah. Both sets of governments, UK and US. And they're broken down into different subsections. The biggest one is the UK, out of many different countries, the UK probably charge the most tax for international flights. It was actually in the Tory manifesto in 2005 to reduce it, but they didn't.
Well, they reduced it. They claimed they would scrap
it. We're going to get rid of it completely. So it costs a lot to fly from the UK, fundamentally. We're going to be a bit UK-centric. Apologies to people in other countries. But we fly from the UK a lot, so that's what we know about. So if you look at about £150 of that fare is just tax. So about a third of it. That's never going to change. You're never going to get a better deal. And the tax is much more than the fare. There's a third component which is called a fuel surcharge. This is a kind of scam.
The airline, they remove the word fuel.
Yeah.
Call it just surcharge.
This is BA charging you a bit extra as well, but hiding it down with the taxes. And that's, again, like a third of the cost of the flight. So the BA are charging you £260. The US and UK governments are charging you about £150. When we're looking for cheap flights, the important thing is that the fuel surcharge isn't going to change. This is fixed by the airline between the departure point and the destination. And they don't vary it for sales, they vary it on a sort of annual basis. It's meant to be there representing their fixed costs. It used to be the fuel surcharge, but then people noticed they never dropped it when the price of oil went down. So now they just call it a surcharge, and it covers operating costs and things. And these taxes, some of them are ring-fenced. There's the US September the 11th security tax, which is meant to go and pay for scanners, and it's $5.60 on every flight, that kind of thing. I think I read that brought in like $1 billion last year by charging everyone $5 every time they fly. So this is the only bit that's going to vary. We've got a fixed base of about £319 that BA are always going to charge you to fly from New York to London to New York. And they're going to vary this bit, the fare. That's the bit that's going to change in the sales. I think this is a little sale actually. That's quite low. But you're not going to see it much cheaper than that on British Airways.
The last sale was, I think, £360.
Yeah, so it's £360. They've reduced the fare to 60 quid?
Yeah.
£30 each way?
Yeah.
That's quite low.
But basically what they want to do is they can reduce this part because it's kind of like the profit, but all costs are hidden in the surcharge.
I'm sure there's a bit of profit in this.
Yeah.
And so the way airlines have traditionally handled pricing, the important thing about airline pricing, in fact, is that it's demand-driven. Airlines commit to flights they're going to do 10 to 12 months in advance. It varies depending on airline. But like nearly a year in advance, they're saying, we're going to run a flight from London to New York at this time. And then they plan their aircraft positioning, so they figure out which aircraft are going to be running each of these routes. They actually finalise that a lot later. And they've got a good idea of which aircraft are going to be there. So to cancel a flight is almost impossible for the airline, because that aircraft is going to land in London, and then they need another aircraft to be in New York to service another flight they've scheduled. So they can't just cancel that late.
It also adds so much cost. If they cancel last minute your flight, then all people whose flight was cancelled are eligible for the EU compensation.
Yeah.
Because BA is a EU-based airline.
So they make this commitment really a year in advance. So they know we're going to spend this much on running flights next year. So then when they're pricing it, it becomes a kind of sales exercise. They can vary the price immensely. They can do sales. They can, when things are selling badly, they want to sell the tickets. They have to sell the tickets at some profit, so because they know the costs are already fixed. Which the airlines sort of try and hide. Airlines are very cagey about actually letting you compare prices at different times or compare different routes. If you go directly to an airline, most of the time, this is the BA form, you get a form like this, you say where you're going from, which airport do you want to fly from, where do you want to fly to, which exact date, there's no date range search, do you want to fly on, what class do you want it to fly on. And then you submit the form and then it tells you the price. It's a way for the airline to hide these pricing differences. They don't want you to know that the guy sitting next to you paid half the price you did. It's an old-fashioned business model. It comes from the fact people used to book through a travel agent. Like, people couldn't actually book directly. And this industry is very slow to adapt. The problem they have is they do have to publish their fares, because all these travel agents need to be able to quote prices for you. So, because all the airlines have to be public about what their fares are, there are third parties who will let you search across airlines and will let you search date ranges.
But some airlines are trying to prevent that. Like Lufthansa is charging extra if you book through a travel agent or like an online booking tool.
Yeah.
They add like £30 per ticket.
So there are places like Kayak, who are effectively travel agents who let you search. But we're going to focus on the tools that won't let you book. This means they don't really have an incentive to lie to you. They're just telling you what the pricing is, and then you go and book it with the airline. The first one we'll look at is Google Flights. Obviously, Google indexed all the information on the planet, so Google Flights is a good option. It's a very fast search. You say where you're going from and to. what dates, it shows you across all the different airlines. It's a very easy to use tool. It's best for direct flights. It's hard to do a sort of multi-flight itinerary. It includes all the economy airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet, which some of the other tools are. So if you want to fly somewhere in Europe and back, Google Flights is the best option.
And the quickest usually.
Yeah, and the quickest. However, the tool we tend to use for non-simple flights is called ITA Software's Matrix. It got bought by Google 2 years ago, and it's what Google have used to build Google Flights. It doesn't have the budget airlines, so if you want to fly EasyJet or Ryanair, you're not going to find stuff on here. However, it does let you do much more powerful searches, much broader parameters. You know, I want to go somewhere in the Caribbean in July or August. What's the cheapest? And it can handle quite complicated multi-stop itineraries, which we're going to talk more about in a minute. So this is generally what we'd use for most of these searches, unless someone says, I want to fly to Warsaw as cheaply as possible. And you want to find a budget airline that does it. So an example of how you use this tool, we want to go to LA in July. Deliberately pick this because there's a sale on in July. Spoilers. So where am I coming from? Where am I going to? There's this advanced routing codes, which takes little sequences of characters that specify routing stuff, if you want to get really nerdy about it, but not go into the depth of that. The important thing is you can search for a calendar of lowest fares. And I'm saying starting in over a whole month, sometime in July, I'm going to stay between 6 and 12 days, I don't care. The search normally takes about a minute. In fact, it cuts off after a minute. And you get a calendar, something like this, and you notice, oh look, if we're going these dates, it's significantly cheaper. And you click through, you can see all of the different airlines that operate this route, whether they do it non-stop or with a stop in the way. And then if you take the time bars view, you can visually sort of match what time of day they fly. You can see that there's this airline, BY, which is Norwegian Air. I didn't know they ran this route. They'll fly you from Gatwick to LA for about £700. Don't know if they're any good.
They're alright.
They're not
Yeah.
bad.
They're alright.
For European.
Yeah. And then you can
That
see,
doesn't include anything.
yeah. You pay for your meal, you pay for your drinks, probably need to take a good book with
And you
you.
have to pay for the luggage as well.
Pay for luggage. That sort of thing. If you want to go hand baggage only to LA, it's a really good option. You'll see all the other airlines are charging about 900 quid. That's not coincidence. It's not collusion. They're just competing very intensely on price. So Delta, Virgin and Business have BA and Air New Zealand have absolutely no business connections. It's not code shares or anything. They're all charging £977 for that route. And as soon as one of them decides to start charging £976, the others will change. So you're paying 900 quid to get to LA, unless you go budget. That's the basics of that particular tool. At the end, you get to see your itinerary. It gives you some nice information like what aircraft it's going to be on, and in fact, in the search, you can specify, I definitely want to fly the new 787, or I don't want to be on one of those little planes, and filter that. And you get the class, and you get the fare breakdown like the one we looked at. Often, when you look at the search results, there's lots of flights that are happening at the same time.
But different prices.
These are flights between £977 and £1,121, but if you look at it, there's actually only 4 flights there. These are just code shares. The asterisk means it's a code share. So BA are operating this flight, but you can book it through AA or Iberia, because they have an agreement. This one's an AA flight, you can book through BA. There's a BA flight that you can book through AA or Iberia. The prices are completely different, which is why this tool is quite good. I can fly BA, if I love BA, but I can book it through a different airline if I want to get a better price. It just so happens that the real operator is cheapest in all these examples, but it's not always the case. You can sometimes find can fly BA, book it under the Iberia flight code, and it costs much less.
It's down to the booking.
Yeah, and some of these price differences are due to currency differences. The tool's converting it to GBP, but obviously AA take dollars, and Iberia take euros, and BA take pounds. Some of it is due to capacity. Even inside a class like economy, there are different buckets, they're called fare buckets of tickets. There's the cheap tickets, and there's the flexible tickets. In this case, BA still have some cheap tickets available. AA are claiming there aren't any of the cheap bucket available, you can only book the semi-flex. So again, the tool helps you compare across these airlines. Two places we recommend to find out when there's an economy sale on. If you want to fly direct, you just have to wait for the sale. So you can compare across airlines. There's not much else you can do. Wait for a sale to be on. Head for Points is a blog. They talk a lot about hotels and flying, and they tend to say BA are doing a sale. Here's the best deals inside that sale. Flyer Talk's a forum, so you can spend all day chatting on Flyer Talk if you want to, about very nerdy travel things. And again, you tend to find out when a sale's on. And also the travel channel on Slack. We tend to mention, oh, there's a new sale on. That's it for the cost, the cost only. If you want to get the cost lower, you have to start making compromises. So we're going to talk next about the compromises.
And
then we're going to talk about how you then bring it back up again by booking business class and stuff. So to reduce the cost more, you need to vary the route, maybe a slightly less convenient routing. For instance, if you want to fly to Singapore at Easter, it's going to cost you £800 at the moment.
It's direct, right?
Direct on BA. If you're willing to take an extra stop on the way, this is just a transfer, you can fly via Frankfurt for £559. That's a big difference, and it's not that far out of the way. And we'll talk more about how you can minimise the transfer time here. Talk a bit later. You might want to maximise it and actually spend some time in Frankfurt to break it up and make that stopover make that layover less inconvenient. The biggest money-saving thing you can do is not fly from the UK. There are several reasons for this. One we talked about, there's about the UK charges about £100 more tax than other countries do on a flight, per flight.
And
so
that's higher if you want to
yeah.
more expensive cabins.
Even if everything else was going to be equal, it's going to be more expensive to fly from the UK. Maybe there's an ethical thing about tax avoidance there that you might want to think about, but it's cheaper.
Is the tax based on the length of the flight at all?
No, it's based on class.
You've got to get out of the country.
It's
I
also
think there's
based
a
on
rate for that is banded. So there's domestic rate and an international rate.
No, you have three rates. You've got domestic, European, or the short haul, and then the long haul. So flying to Australia is going to cost you a lot more than the tax is higher than if you were flying to, let's say,
Dublin.
Dublin.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Basically.
you cheaply get into Europe and then pay a cheaper tax.
Exactly. Exactly. So by
But
starting
also
your
market difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
By starting your route elsewhere, you're missing that UK duty. You might feel like you don't want to skip the tax. More importantly, different pricing in different markets. That's more of a factor. So, BA, to take BA as an example, they get loads of traffic from the UK. They don't need to chase business in the UK. But maybe they're trying to develop Oslo as a market. They're going to do lots of deals from Oslo at cheaper, even if you're taking the same flights.
Yeah.
Even if you're flying from Oslo to London and getting on the plane you would have booked from London anyway.
Yeah, I had this case last year. I wanted to fly with my parents from London to Canada. The ticket price return was £800. When I checked from Warsaw, it was just £400. Same flights, exactly same flights. So it was cheaper for me to fly to Warsaw and then just start journey with my parents via London.
Yeah. Even including the cost of the hop to Warsaw.
Yeah.
Other differences include exchange rate differences. That doesn't happen a lot because it tends to even out, but a few months ago there were loads of really good deals from Scandinavia because they're not in the euro, most of those countries. And there was just a dip. It started being a lot cheaper from there. Other really important things, sales happen at different times. So there might not be a BA sale at the moment from the UK, but there might be a BA sale at the moment from Dublin. That's the case right now.
Yeah.
There's an alright BA sale from here, but there's a better BA sale from Dublin. So you can find out what's on sale at the moment. And the airlines do stagger them around to try and balance out their revenues. Public holidays are at different times. I was talking to Gabby about this morning. She wants to go somewhere at half term, and she also wants her parents to look after her kids, and her parents live in Sweden. It's not half term in Sweden, so maybe she can fly from Sweden. And if you look at the pricing in flights originating in Sweden, there isn't this big half term bump because it's not half term. Again, even if you're flying back through the UK to get where you want to go to, you can often avoid that holiday bump.
20 minutes.
Oh, gee. Oh, we're nowhere near halfway. Okay, cool. So some places you can fly from. If you live in London, Dublin is probably the most convenient place to fly from. There tend to be good deals from there. You don't need to show a passport to fly there, depending where you're flying. Customs is really easy from the UK flights. There's no faffing around.
It's English speaking as well.
English speaking. It flies from all of the major London airports as well.
It's very convenient for.
I mean, historically this is bad, but. And if you fly into the US, there's a really cool thing at Dublin. You can clear US customs in Dublin. So if you fly from Dublin to the US, you clear customs before you get on the flight, and a real American guy in a uniform checks everything. And you land at a domestic terminal in the US and don't need to go through customs at all. So you have that pain at the start of your journey instead of the end of the journey.
So if you have a connecting flight in US, you don't have to worry that you may miss it because you're going to be stuck in the queue waiting for immigration.
In the little holding area with all the other suspected terrorists. So Dublin's often a really good option, and there tend to be good sales from Dublin. Another one, maybe more relevant to UK people who aren't in London, is Amsterdam. Again, they tend to have sales, and KLM have loads of flights into UK cities. I think there's 5 or 6 a day from Leeds, 5 or 6 a day from Manchester. So often it's worth looking at flights starting in Amsterdam, if you can get there easily. So looking at London to LA, pricing is between about £900 and £1,100 to fly London to
It's
LA.
almost 1,000, I think.
Nearly £1,000, £984. That's if you're looking at BA or One World. If we look at the same thing from Dublin, the price goes down to about 700 quid. So you're saving £200 or so
Per person.
per person.
And you also has the advantage of having cleared your immigration in the US.
Yeah, you get to do all the immigration stuff immediately. However, you maybe need to go to Dublin. But often, yeah, there's airlines like Ryanair or someone who can get you to Dublin very cheaply. Something to bear in mind is if you do this, you're going to have 2 tickets. You're going to have a London to Dublin flight, return, maybe, and you're going to have a Dublin to LA flight. Because they're separate tickets, if you miss this flight, the airline aren't going to rebook you on the
There's
second
one
one.
exception though. There's American Airlines. If you have this flight book on American Airlines and that one with BA, American Airlines will protect you.
It's good to know. So generally when you've got a multi-stop trip, if there's some disruption, after you've departed, if there's some disruption, the airline has to rebook you. Like if a flight's late, they'll have to reschedule you at the original price. This doesn't happen, so you have to maybe, I mean Dublin's quite a nice city, maybe go there the day before, make sure you're not on the last flight of the day, so if something goes wrong, you can take a later flight. If your flight's cancelled, you can take a later flight. Another strategy is called going back to back, which is very exciting. What you do is you figure out which flight will be operating the Dublin to London leg, or the first leg here, which actual aircraft, and you book this flight to be on that actual aircraft. So if your outbound flight is cancelled, it means your other flight's going to be cancelled. So
And in this case, airline operating this flight will actually let you abandon those two first flights and start from London.
Yeah. What it means is you end up flying London to Dublin. I've not done it. Have you done it?
No, I haven't done that.
You fly London to Dublin, and then there's instructions for not going through security. You go down like a side corridor, and you end up in departures, and then you go straight back in. And an hour later, you're sitting on the same aircraft with the same crew, and flying back to London.
Usually in a different class as well.
Yeah. But usually you'll have upgraded. Let's talk about that. So it was like £1,000 in economy. If you fly from Dublin, it's like £700. If you fly in business, it's £800. So it's costing you less to fly to LA from Dublin in business class all the way than it would have cost you economy from London. That is, even if you book it so that you're flying from Dublin to London and then taking the flight you would have taken anyway. It's a massive saving. And this isn't tax, most of it. The saving is nearly all coming from that demand-driven pricing. Different markets want to make it cheap to fly from Dublin. This is also combined with the sale that's on at the moment. So this is an amazing deal, right? You get to fly to LA in business class for 900 quid. For less than it would have cost to fly from London.
Those prices are available for July and August. So if you want to go for summer holiday in LA.
Yeah, or generally, West Coast America. Or actually East Coast is in it as well, if you go to New York or something.
I think in November you can go as low as £600 business class.
Yeah. Anyway. So that's the trick, that's the main trick. Fly from somewhere that isn't in the UK. You'd have to pay another bit to get to Dublin.
Or you can use Avios for that.
Or if you've got lots of points, you can book it on points. I don't know why that's slide there as well. Ah, yes.
This is flying back from via London. So it's the same flight as before, but before on the previous page, the lowest price would take you back to Dublin, and you would need to return from Dublin to London. This is slightly more expensive. It's £40 more expensive, but you fly directly to US, and on the way back you fly just directly back to London, and you have connecting flight back to Dublin from the different airport.
So you maybe don't have to take this flight.
Well, officially you have to take it, right? And if you ever book a flight like that,
things happen.
You may. How do you get your luggage?
So
oh yeah, because
this flies into Heathrow.
Different airport.
Oh, right.
This flies into Heathrow,
Sorry.
and this flies out from City. That's very important.
and
So
also there's tube strike, so you didn't make it to the...
to combat this kind of thing, the airlines are insisting that you check your bags through to the final destination. If you miss a segment early in an itinerary, the whole itinerary gets cancelled. If you miss it at the end, nothing happens. So to combat it, they want you to check your bags through. So you can go hand baggage only. You can make sure your stop in London is an overnight stop, and none of the airlines will let you book the bags through. Or you can change airports. So you can fly into one London airport and fly out from another London airport. I did this last year on a trip to California. We just didn't. I did it actually in November on a trip to Hawaii. We just didn't go to Dublin the next day.
I did it on my trip to Vegas, but I did go to Dublin in the end.
And there's reports that even if your bags are checked through, you do have the right to ask for your bags. You just have to something's come up, I desperately need my bags, please.
Yeah.
Give them that. And you can just wander out the airport, it's fine. If you do this, and it's worth trying. Nothing bad has ever happened to anyone as a result of this. Don't book it through a travel agent. Bad things have happened to travel agents because of this. Nothing bad's going to happen to you, but the airlines have been, travel agents charged you X, the airlines then increase the amount they charge the travel agent. Travel agent can't pass that on to you, but it's probably a bit mean of you to do it.
But airlines are happy to book those tickets for you.
Yeah, you can book it direct on the air. Just don't take the flight. No one ever asks why you didn't take a flight. It's like, I saw on Flight Talk the other day, someone said it's like if the set menu for 2 courses is £10 and the set menu for 3 courses is £8, you just buy the £8 one and don't eat the dessert. That's not bad. It's not a crime. Something else you should do when you're looking at one of these flights. On the last page, it gives you the fares, and each fare has a set of rules. And this is where it sort of separates the nerds from the uber nerds. You can go and read the rules of the flight. So for this price, there's a set of routes you can take. There's a set of places you can stop. There's restrictions about how long you can stop in each place, and you can read it. And maybe do other searches. So adding stops to a flight to make it less inconvenient if you want to stop a few places. First off, transfers are anything up to 24 hours. Most of the time people are trying to minimise the transfer time at an airport. But if you spend 23 hours in a city, you can actually go out, have a nice evening, stay in a hotel, and then come back the next morning.
With your friends you haven't seen for some time?
Yeah, so like you can look in the rules, where can I make transfers? And you can say, oh yeah, my uncle lives in that city, I'll go and spend the evening. I've always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. Normally transfers are free, so you can just randomly add stops to your itinerary.
Well,
the fare is from one place to another place.
Usually the limit of them is...
Yeah, so maybe up to 4 stops, or 2 in Europe and 2 in the US, something like that. If you go more than 24 hours, that's a stopover, and they're more limited. Some routes don't allow stopovers. Some routes allow like up to 5 stopovers, but they cost $75 each, something like that. Sometimes they're free. On a really rare occasion, you'll get free stopovers, which means you can fly somewhere and actually spend like a week there, en route to somewhere else.
Yeah, like...
We've got an example.
Yeah, but the problem with this one is that if you do a stopover, usually you get charged extra in taxes.
Oh yeah, for instance, if you stop over in the UK, you have to pay that UK tax. It incurs more taxes. So this is the trip I did in November. It's actually slightly simplified. But we were going from UK-ish to Hawaii, and you have to stop somewhere. There's no direct flights. We could have booked this with 2-hour stopover, 2-hour transfers, but we booked 24 hours in LA on the way out, and 24 hours in Las Vegas on the way back for no extra charge on the flight. We could have made it 1 hour in each of those places, but we'd have been tired. So we went out, enjoyed the city. And you can pretty much add extras. We could have also stopped in New York, so this could easily be UK to New York to LA to Hawaii. And if you don't like long flights, that helps break up the flight a lot. And that's no extra charge. Occasionally you'll get a route that allows stopovers with a reasonable charge, and this is one that Marek's doing.
Doing as well.
I'm doing a similar trip. There's amazing fares from Germany to Hong Kong, but when we read the rules, it allows loads of transfers, it allows loads of stopovers, and they weren't charging for stopovers.
Yeah.
So you can add a stopover more than 24 hours without any extra charge. So do you want to explain?
The only problem was that you had to start your trip before mid-August. Yeah. So what I did, I spent a nice weekend in Frankfurt. That was 7th of August or something like that, beginning of August. And right now I'm having a stopover in London, and I'm going to Bangkok in February.
So that's
Genius.
and then you're spending a few days in Bangkok.
I'm spending 5 nights in Bangkok. Then you have to spend Saturday, Sunday night in Hong Kong. So we're staying 4 nights in Hong Kong. Then we're going to Singapore for another 4 nights, flying back to London, and 3 weeks later I have a flight to Frankfurt.
So the important thing is this is a Frankfurt to Hong Kong fare. But Marek was able to add all the extra stuff by reading the rules.
So what was the cost difference between...
This was 800 and something for business class.
What?
It added a bit of tax on top for doing a long stopover in London.
Each flight was business class. So every time you got on a plane...
All flights are business class, yes.
815?
Yeah, something like that.
So I'm doing a similar route to this. We're not going to Singapore.
So how much do you guys charge for figuring this out for someone else?
Free. We've actually... This is a trip I'm doing. It's not as good an example, but I thought I'd throw it in. There was a great fare from Copenhagen to New York in business. And they allowed stopovers at a charge of £75 per stopover. So I added a stopover in Heathrow. So I flew Copenhagen to Heathrow like a month ago. We're doing the Heathrow to JFK over the Easter bank holiday. Not at bank holiday prices, at November 2015 prices. And then we've got Heathrow to Copenhagen later, which we may or may not do. I think we're going to go to Malmö, go over the bridge.
Yeah.
And that was like 1,000, but I used Avios to get it down. Less than that.
But you make it less inconvenient.
Go for it.
Obviously, you have to take yourself to Copenhagen to begin with.
Yeah, you have to take the first flight.
Yeah, I got that with Avios. I've got enough points that I did that for free. You can get to
Of course you
Copenhagen.
do.
One way to Copenhagen is about £50
Yeah, no, I know.
on Norwegian. Yeah, so you have to get to Copenhagen.
Okay, so you pay.
You maybe don't have to go to Copenhagen at the end,
Yeah.
especially as it's like a 2-month stopover. They're not going to check my bags through. So that's how you get bargainous prices. Marek's going to talk a lot about business class.
Well, I have like 5 minutes. Okay, so I'll try to make it quick.
We do have the room until 1, so
Yeah,
if we run long a
yeah.
little.
Okay, so the best way to get to travel in style is to get a free upgrade, right? Sometimes it does happen, but don't rely on that.
It just doesn't happen anymore.
It's especially on the UK or Europe-based airlines. It doesn't happen. In the US, they have a system that you collect points and then you get like stickers, and then you can use them to upgrade your flights.
Most of the airlines have gone up, like all of the discretion to grant upgrades from frontline customer service staff has disappeared. It's all run by algorithms now that figure out who's the best person to give an upgrade to get loyalty. So you can't go and say it's our honeymoon, can we have an upgrade anymore, unfortunately.
So the funny thing, my sister was living in Canada for a year, last year. She traveled quite a lot with British Airways. So as she never flew business class on a long haul flight, she got upgraded to business class for free 3 times. But if she flew once more, she wouldn't be upgraded anymore. There is a new system which basically looks for people who are paying like not much, but like for better class, and then it upgrades them to business class to like lure them in a better world.
It used to be that they'd reward the people who flew business class all the time by giving them new business class. Now they're trying to find people who fly a lot in economy
Or premium economy.
or premium and like tempt them into business class.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen. Sorry.
Yeah. So you can pay for them. And usually that's very expensive, especially if you got your cheap economy ticket. You're gonna pay change fee as well, and they will upgrade you to the fully flex business class. So it's not really a good option. There is a thing called promotional online upgrades. BA has a fixed price, which is the cheapest difference between cheapest economy and cheapest business.
But that's cheapest at any point. So it's the difference between the cheapest economy has ever been and the cheapest business class has ever been. And then if they have capacity, they'll offer you that price.
Yeah.
To upgrade.
It usually appears in your on your booking, so it's worth checking your manage my booking option online quite often to see. This price is I consider it quite high, but if you do it from like this is for the flight Warsaw, London to Warsaw. If you book separate ticket from Warsaw to London, that price drops by half. So, example prices. If you wanna upgrade from economy to premium economy, it's usually £85 to £250. On a longer flight, it might be worth to have like a couple of inches extra of leg room. There's another option. You can upgrade at the airport. They usually offer at the check-in. You can ask for it, but they will only offer it when it's available, and it's usually more expensive than the promotional online upgrade.
They tend to try and, that's like when they've just realised their flight's under capacity, they'll offer you at the gate.
Yeah.
You can ask. You can always ask.
Sometimes they have a stand, with the stand saying that we have an upgrade offers today. You can upgrade with miles. as well. So yeah, so before I need to be faster, yeah. So British Airways Executive Club, I'm going to focus on that. When you travel with British Airways, you collect two things. You collect avios, which is basically miles, they have a nice name for it.
Which is like a currency.
And you have tier points, which allow you to get different status with British Airways.
Just like experience points in role-playing games.
Avios are based on miles flown, but also if you get a better class or if you have a status, you get more points. So it adds nicely. You can use them to spend on flights, hotels, and experiences as well. So example for earnings between London City and Amsterdam. The cheapest economy gets you just 125 avios, 5 tier points. But if you go for the flexible business class, that's a lot more.
You can sometimes check the price difference between these. So these are all economy tickets, but sometimes the price difference is like £5, £10 in very rare cases. But you get lots more rewards.
Or sometimes you can see that the cheapest business class is like £20 more expensive than economy class. So, or sometimes it's actually cheaper than economy. That happens. This is example for London to Singapore. I think that's one of the longest routes. So you see, if you fly fully flexible first class, it gives you enough points to spend on flights.
That's enough for an upgrade to business class and then one more flight.
Yeah, that's another, So you can upgrade from premium economy to business class just thanks to the fact you've flown first class. How you can collect avios? One World Alliance partners, airline partners, they are listed all here. Hotels, credit cards, Tesco, shopping at Tesco, shopping at avios.com.
So you can convert your entire life into an Avios generating system.
Yeah, this year I earned like 200,000 avios from credit cards and partners and flying, which is quite a lot.
Most other point schemes like Tesco Club points, hotel schemes can then be transferred into Avios.
Sometimes if you sign up for a credit card and just spend like a minimum spend over 3 months, you get bonus points. It's not as generous as like in US. In US you would get 50,000 points. In UK you're gonna get 20,000 points, but it's still better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you spend avios? 8,000 avios plus 35 quid. It's gonna take you to these places in Europe. So as far as Bergamo, Berlin, Prague, Milan.
That's return, right?
That's return, yeah. So one trip to US may earn you enough avios to go somewhere for free in Europe, if you book it smartly. 1,300 avios, more places, longer routes, including Africa if you want to go there, or Gibraltar, Lisbon, Madrid, Tirana, Warsaw. 1,700 avios, 17,000 avios, sorry, more places, including Tenerife, which is the newest route, and Reykjavik. Don't know if anyone wants to go to Moscow, but Helsinki.
This is the fees and the taxes.
Well, sometimes they actually BA dropped the fuel surcharge on European flights. So now you can actually get it 35 or less on some flights. I booked like flight from Thessaloniki back to London. The fee was just £5. Standard redemption rate, avios plus taxes, you can upgrades, the price difference.
We'll publish these slides after.
Yeah, status. Okay, so we carry on. When you get tier points, you collect. When you collect tier points, you get status, right? So when you join British Executive Club, you're blue. You can collect avios and you can spend, nothing else. But after some time, you get bronze. So you can get more avios. You get free seat selection, which is quite useful. You get business class check-in, gets you quicker through the airport, and priority boarding. which is useful on a short-haul flight, where you can be sure that you can put your bag up rather than having it checked in. Silver, more bonus avios, free seat selection, lounge access plus guest, additional
Lounge
check.
access is very good. You get to go to the business lounge instead of
Yeah,
hanging
instead
around
of
in the airport.
additional checked bag when flying economy. So instead of having just one bag, you can check in two, which is useful. And there is no overweight fee, so you can pack up to 32 kilograms, which is quite useful. Gold, more avios, free seat selection including front row seats, first class lounge, extra bag in all classes, arrivals lounge, which you fly, if you fly from US in cheapest economy, you can still go to the arrivals lounge, have a shower, have a breakfast, and then go to work straight away. And additional redemption availability.
Then also press your suit for the arrivals lounge
Oh yeah.
while you're having the shower.
How to progress? Blue is free to join. To get bronze, you need at least 2 BA flights and 300 tier points, which you can do within one trip if you're lucky. Silver, 4 BA flights plus 600 tier points. You can also do it within one trip if you're lucky. Gold, you need more tier points, 1500 tier points. And you can do it with one extra trip. Yeah, airline alliances, there are 3 main alliances, so it's best to choose which one you want to earn your points with. It doesn't
So you don't
happen.
have to stick with one airline, you stick with one alliance.
Yeah. So British Airways is in one word, and those are airlines you can fly and earn your points and redeem your points with. So it's 15 members, 155 countries, 1,000 airports served. Star Alliance is the biggest one, it has 27 members.
It's probably best for the Munich people.
Yeah, best for Munich, I would say, and yeah, they're the biggest, but unfortunately their program is not as good as British Airways one. SkyTeam, it's
If you fly from Amsterdam a lot.
yeah, KLM. Advanced seat selection, it's do your research, so you can improve your comfort and have some kind of that kind of leg room in your.
This is me on a 12-hour economy flight. It's good.
Okay, this is an example of ex-EU business cheaper than UK economy. I always wanted to go to this airport and take pictures of the beach. So I was looking at the price from London to St. Martin. It actually dropped when I was booking this flight. It was like £1,400. So I would just go in coach and 100 tier points and 5,000 points.
So remember, you need 600 to get BA Silver, which is probably what you're.
Yeah, you need 600 to earn silver.
When you get to the silver, do you have to fly a certain amount of flights?
You
or
get it for the rest of your membership year,
They don't
and then the year after.
Okay, but then if you don't fly enough, they'll drop you to the blue or yeah.
One will be
So
long.
you lose it.
Yeah, the one.
No, you go one down for another year.
Yeah.
On soft
then-
landing.
So if you start the same journey from Madrid, but in business class, it's 30 quid cheaper, more expensive, but I earn 420 tier points and 1,400 avios.
So that would give you BA Bronze.
That gives you straight away BA bronze. And also this, if you have a status, like I have gold right now, that would be like 25,000 points.
Slip that in.
So jealous.
I've got silver.
Yeah, okay. So this is slightly different. I decided to come back to London, this route. The only downside of this one was that it's returning to Paris. So it's not really convenient. So if I add another £20 more, £20 more, it returns to London, and then I have to take flight to Paris next day. Which I don't have to take it, right?
Right, guys?
Yeah, as a comparison, London to St. Martin in business class, 200, and that's the current sale.
That's the sale.
That's the sale price from London. Yeah, so I ended up booking this one. I ended up because I wanted to have a long layover in transfer in New York and meet my friends I haven't seen for 3 years. So I'm gonna meet them for like brunch, lunch, and then go back to the airport and fly back to
It's a
London.
great example of a transfer not affecting the cost. It's going to the Caribbean, but have a day.
Well, it affects.
Day in New York.
It's £2 more, and, and I'm also doing another layover in Charlotte as well. Okay, so this is how I'm going to fly. Yeah.
This way, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, tier point runs. This is the crazy thing that people do to get more tier points to get a status quicker. I'll just run through it. So, average route in business class gives you 280 tier points, not even bronze, right? If you add a stopover, you're almost silver
It's because it's per leg.
per leg.
You've got
You get-
4 long-haul segments instead of 2.
Avios are per distance. Tier points are per leg, per segment. So this is the trip I did for. This is the trip I had to take in October. That was for the ZenCon. I was invited to speak there. So the direct flight was quite expensive and also quite boring. So I asked them if I could book my own flight. They said yes. So I booked the flight like that: Dublin, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Las Vegas. I was very tired at the end. Flying back via JFK back to London. I earned 860 tier points in that route. I was lucky enough that they let me do it, and they paid for it. So I got gold.
You had to pay a little bit more, right?
Yeah, they said they're gonna pay me 930 quid, and I paid for this trip 1100.
So the economy price is only like 100 and something less than this.
Yeah,
And that got you up to gold, right?
and that gave me gold status.
Gold's 1500, but he had lots.
Yeah, this is another example. If you want to go to Honolulu, to Hawaii, it's this way. You get 700 tier points. But if you make it a little bit more complicated, it's 1120.
And bear in mind, you could turn that into a day in New York.
And
It doesn't
then
have to be inconvenient.
Yeah. You can add stopovers, meet your friends. That's the most crazy tier point round I've seen. You start from Copenhagen, go to Helsinki, London. That's the maximum we can get. Usually those sales allows you to transfer 2 free transfers in US and 2 free transfers in Europe.
How much would that cost?
Similar cost.
Similar cost.
900 quid.
It doesn't change the price if you add more legs.
You just get more points.
You can just
Takes
make more
longer.
points.
Takes longer.
Hitchcraft, yeah.
It does take longer, so that's why I was trying to do
You've got
it.
to make it interesting.
Like
Yeah.
little things like that's fine, but stopping in New York, you want to stop somewhere where you'll then spend a day that
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
just.
Right.
He just goes like 1 hour transfer.
Yeah, you could do this in one day, and then the next day you start from London to JFK, sleep there, sleep in Phoenix, or Vegas.
Some people people who are good at sleeping on flights try and book it so the flights are overnights in each case.
Yeah.
So you spend a day in the place and then you sleep on the flight, and then you spend a day in another place. But I can't sleep on flights, so I don't do that.
Yeah, it depends how long the flight is. This is another example. It's 500 pounds and gives you almost 1,000 tier points. So yeah, the route is from Vegas. So someone wanted to go from Los Angeles to Panama City, but came up. These legs are overnight legs. These are daily flights, and these are daily flights. Okay, let's
not summarise. That's it. We've massively overrun. Sorry, Taika. You made it in an hour.
You did.
Any more questions? Follow-ups to travel?
Yeah, follow up outside this road, please.
Thank
you.
Thanks, guys.